People are like, oh, I don't have listings, I don't have buyers. Just go to model homes and do tours and talk about that and just talk about the real estate market. If you talk about the real estate market, no one's going to know that you don't have a listing or you don't have a buyer at the moment. You just give them information and fake it till you make it, man. That's what I had to do.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. And I know you guys would much rather listen to the content and not the ads and not the sponsors, but this is one that I'm actually super excited with. So many of the realtors that we interview on the show, they talk about how much systems are important and how much follow-up is important. And I'm really excited about our new sponsor. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time, and when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. On an interview last week with agent Mark McGuire, I asked him what his favorite software and what his favorite system was, and he said it was Follow Up Boss. And then he went on for another 3 or 4 minutes to talk about why Follow Up Boss was the best CRM he uses. So there's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. Some of the stats they gave me: Robert Slack, 1.5 billion team in Florida, #1 in the US. He uses Follow Up Boss to get a 400% ROI on his massive paid lead spend. Deborah Beagle, co-owner of the Ashton Group in Nashville, uses Follow Up Boss to guarantee that agents who join her team get 2 homes under contract in the first 90 days. That's a big guarantee for new agents. Barry Jenkins of Your Friends in Real Estate uses Follow Up Boss to automate everything so his team can produce $200 million on 25-hour work weeks. All right, so here's an offer. You guys are going to get this special for being Real Estate Rockstars listeners. Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing, and what do you know? Best name ever, Follow Up. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com/rockstars. So again, followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. All right, everybody, thanks again. Now back to our show. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Hey, a lot of you guys reached out to me. You asked me to make this interview happen. So we reached out to Cami Lincowski. She's a real estate agent in Las Vegas, Nevada from Players and Platinum. And we can't wait to talk about real estate and being an agent. Cami, how are you?
I am great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You live in one of my favorite places to go hang out during the year. I've probably traveled to Vegas more than anywhere else in the last year. And I don't know why the 2021 just stuck out that way. How long have you lived out there?
I think it's going to be going on either 6 or 7 years in September.
Okay. When did you become a real estate agent?
I'm the worst at this stuff. So I think I'm in my third year, third year. Yeah.
Okay. So that's always funny when people are like, and when people are asking about timing, I don't know about you, but I'm always feeling like the last 2 years kind of all blur together. So I don't know. So sometimes I don't even count them. So I'm like, no, I told somebody like, no, we just bought that house. And then we looked back and it was like right before COVID hit that we did. I'm like, oh man, that's been like 2 years already. I didn't even realize this
turned into 2 years. So
yeah, the time flies in this little weird time block that we're in. So you became an agent a few years ago out in Las Vegas. What made you want to become an agent?
So my husband, he's one of the top lenders here. Mm-hmm. And he had told me, I had actually said to him, I want to try real estate because I had finished reality TV and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And he was like, oh, you sure you want to? And I'm like, yeah. Then he kind of brushed it off. And then a couple months later, I brought it up again. And he said, all right, well, try it out and see if you like it. and the rest is history. And for those who wonder, he's only given me 2 leads, and they were not that great. So he does not give me leads.
That's funny. You know, I interviewed a team that was like a husband and wife team where she's an agent and he's a lender. And they almost every lead they had was like interchangeable. Almost every client they had was interchangeable. But he made you do it yourself. You came out and
I give him leads, you know, my clients, but he doesn't. He's like, how am I going to give you leads? Like people, like agents send me them. I'm not going to poach them for you. I'm not
going to steal them and take them back. Well, that's probably a smart business plan. I could see that. So you started a few years ago. You had done all sorts of different things. Like you said, you had done reality TV and some other stuff. You wanted to try that mostly because he was in it. Did you join a team when you first got started? Did you just go right to like being your own? Like how did you do your first year? Like, did you do many deals your first year?
So I did join a team my first year when I started out, because I didn't even know like where Henderson was, but like I had no sense of direction. Like I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to dive into this, and I don't even know what's down the street. But I was like, okay, I can do it if I stick my mind to it, you know. And I was on a team, a great team, it was Noah Herrera, and they taught me a lot. But I think my first year I did like probably 22 or 26 deals, something like that, which was great. And then I said to myself, you know, all right, I learned what I learned, so I kind of want to go off on my own. And they were super supportive, and I just went off on my own, and I was scared. I mean, even though I never got leads from them, but it was still scary because you think, oh, maybe my first year was a fluke, or, you know, is it still going to be as good? Or, you know, I have to kind of prove myself, I guess you could say, when you go off on your own from a team.
Yeah, it is. Everything's a little scarier when you're doing it on your own, and doing it that quickly. That's a pretty quick story. That's a quick story of like you're doing it in a group. But you said, so how did you get your deals your first year? So if they weren't coming from the team, were you a buyer's agent, seller's agent? How'd you find people?
So my husband, we used to go to a bunch of parties, and just that's how I met like most of my friends, because through him and his friends. And I was talking to one of the women, and I was saying, and we're still really great friends. And I was like, yeah, I just got my real estate license. Like, you know, if you have anything you want to buy or sell, whatever. And she was like, actually, we want to sell my husband's like bachelor pad. And I was like, oh, okay. And I think that was like, 400,000 or something like that. And then after that, she actually got contracted with the state to like buy homes for some stuff that the state was doing. And she used me. So it just kind of like snowballed into, you know, then she would refer me like people that were coming from California and that were, you know, getting higher up positions. So then like my first year, I think I had like, pretty sure it's like 2 or 3, like 1.5 million and over deals, which was like unheard of, I guess. And I just went from there. And then they just like referrals. And this is the first year. No, my second year, we paid for Zillow leads, which was a total waste of money. And then just like now it's like referrals and word of mouth and social media.
Yeah. So at the beginning, you just told somebody, and that's what we tell all the agents, like tell everybody you're becoming an agency. Yeah. You just reached out, and then it turned into, and so much of success, there's a little bit of luck, and then there's making sure you take the luck, the rest.
It's who you know.
Yeah.
It really is. It's who you know.
It's who you know. It's if they like you, you know, if they want to trust you, they want to give you a hand, and then being able to convert that. Then getting to become a buyer's agent on like a bigger scale. I've heard there's a lot of people that have had that in parts of their stories of, you know, or we teach people like become an investor agent, because investors are going to buy over and over again, or a program with the state, something like that. I know guys listening, there's a guy out there. I gave him a cheap flat rate listing a couple weeks ago. It was a flip that we had done. We knew that it was going to sell for way more than we listed. And we said, hey, you can, he's a brand new agent. He'd never had a listing. Today, you can have this listing as a low flat rate, but I promise what's going to happen is you're going to get a bunch of clients. And he took it, and, you know, he went and held the open house, and just through that conversation, he got 4 or 5 clients. And he texted me today, and he said, I just got my offer accepted for this other client. So, you know, he's 3 weeks into being licensed agent. He got his first listing. Awesome. That's pending. And now as a buyer's agent, he's pending. And so it can just snowball and continue to build. Are you do mostly luxury high end stuff now, or do you do all price points out there?
Money is money. I'll do whatever, you know, I mean, so going back, funny enough, to the state, the woman that basically had to approve the homes, and this was 3 years ago. I get a call from her yesterday. and I hadn't spoken to her in like 3 years. She's like, now I'm buying homes for the state. Like, I would love to use you, which is crazy because I hadn't spoken to her in 3 years and she didn't even buy the houses. She approved them. So it just goes to show that, making a first impression or, showing that the transaction goes smoothly does pay off in the long run.
Yeah. So what, if you think back now, so you've been doing it a few years, you've had quick growth with it. Can you think of anything that you wish you would have known when you first started? Because like you said at the beginning, you had no idea what real estate was. You're like, I just want to try this. And then right away, you're like, I need to join a team because I don't actually even know zip codes or popular areas. And that looking back, like what's something that you've learned that you're like, oh, I should have known that right away.
Can you curse on this or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I wish I would have known that like 90% of the time, the other agent's an asshole.
Yeah. It's funny when you add to that. I love to, there's one of the guys that I talked to a couple times named Edmund. He talks about like life is long and it's remembering like, not only are there asshole agents out there, but that's extremely short-sighted. Because at this point, this agent may be in the power position. They may be the ones like they could be a jerk or they're like, hey, we've got 10 listings on this, so I don't need to call you back. Right. So the agents get in this power position. And so they're not always, kind. And then later the roles switch and you remember like, hey, that guy was an asshole. I don't want to do business with him. And they don't realize how short-sighted that is or how much of a disservice it is. Is there a way that you deal with it now or how do you or have some of those assholes come back and want to do more deals with you?
Well, funny enough, this past week, as you know, this market is insane. Mm-hmm. With the buyer's market, it's like unheard of. I hate using the word like crazy and insane, but it is. It's basically where it's at. And this agent who I've never worked with, but he's known, I guess, for not being too kind. My client loved the house, put an offer in, and they called me. And I was literally walking into a showing, and he himself called me, not an assistant. He did. And I said, hey, what's going on? I have a minute. I'm walking into showing. What's up? He literally said to me, oh, I guess you're too busy then to make this deal work. We'll just move on to the next person. Bye. And hung up on me. But guess what? Who's in escrow? Me. So he has to deal with me.
Yeah.
And I'm a very aggressive like buyer's agent. I mean, we had like 6 counters. It was ridiculous, the terms that were on there. But anyways, I mean, after that, I called him like a crazy ex-girlfriend. Of course, he didn't pick up, but it was just like, you asshole. Like,
so short-sighted. It's so like to think that that's a way to treat anybody and then have that reputation, right? Like, as like customers, right? So his clients, right? When they're getting people, if they had any idea like, wait, this agent that's going to represent me is going to be doing a disservice, that agents, when you're doing that, you're doing a disservice to your clients because you won't get a higher offer. You won't get as many people in there. You won't have as great of a transaction. Real estate's personal, right? It gets very personal to like,
I take it personal.
Right? Everybody takes it. Buyers take it very personal. Their biggest decision they've ever made, their most expensive thing they've ever made. And it's really easy. I mean, in one sense, it's really easy to get caught up in bidding wars. But it's also really easy to take everything personal of like, hey, this came up on the inspection. You should have known that. It's just all sorts of different emotions with the transactions. The agents need to be the calm ones, right?
Yeah. And they're like, that's just how he is. I'm like, I don't care. Don't care. You're like, I don't care if that's how he is. He's not going to talk to me like that or hang up the phone. So everything else has been like via email. He will not pick up my calls or anything, I think, because, he's scared or he's just an asshole, either or.
Yeah. So what do you have any idea what sort of average? So right now, what's the average price point in Vegas? So when you like, or have prices gone up like crazy the last couple of years?
Yeah, they were saying 25,000. It's gone up, and I just read today the median price point is 450,000, which is insane because like I think like not even a year ago was like 350, and it's clients. Like I have clients. This one woman who. You have that client who's like, I'm going to find the right one and I'm going to get a deal. And, and we have been looking for 2 years, and this is a social media lead I got. And she just thinks like, well, for this price, like, I just feel like I should get more. And then now she's like, oh, if I would have bought last year, I would, cause you would have gotten a way more house last year than you would get now, and then now she's like, well, I think I'm going to wait. And I'm like, girl, you keep waiting. Like, you're not going to get anything. You're just going to keep paying rent. So people think that it's going to crash here, and I personally don't think so. My husband being a lender, he's like, there's no way it's going to be 2008 again. Oh, I can't hear you.
No, you're all good. So you talk about social media leads. How have you grown your social media so big?
Reality TV. I used to have way more followers till I got married, and then I lost like 150,000.
Oh my God, how funny! Did you have
the day I got married?
Was it tough to transition from that to like being an agent? Like, was it tough to get people? Because we have people that come on and they say, "Hey, I'm so young." People have a tough time, looking at me, seeing me as an agent. Did you have a tough time making that transition, convincing people that you would be great?
Yes and no, because I feel like anyone who's seen me on TV knows, like, okay, she does her shit. She knows what she's doing. But at the same time, it was hard for me to advertise in the sense of like putting my phone number or, putting like personal like contact, because I did in the beginning have like weirdos. So I didn't even put like my work number or anything like that in the beginning, because I just had like creepy people contact me, which it was expected, So I actually waited, probably didn't start putting my contact information till maybe about a year ago. Mm-hmm. So if they contacted me via social media and then I kind of vetted them, then I would reach out. But like I said, I would do everything myself. I literally just hired a transaction coordinator because I'm so type A. I like to be on top of everything, because people were like, why don't you just like have someone that can filter out the stuff? I'm like, no, I want to do it myself. So yeah.
There's another Las Vegas agent that I've interviewed that she was like Miss Nevada on something. And it was similar, they had to filter some of the calls when they were coming in to try to make sure that that real people were trying to, essentially just like you, like, because if you were famous before becoming an agent and now you want to be there, that's almost like you have to work. Even though you had a following and people are interested, it sounds like you probably had to work harder to really make it work. Like you knew people, and so that helped you get your first listing, but then you had to work harder to make sure like every lead was actually real, to push through. Did you feel like you had to work harder?
Well, yeah, definitely had to work harder. And then also, I'm sure there were like the doubters that were like, oh, because Vegas, let's be honest, you have these girls that work at the pool, and they make all this money. They don't go to school, whatever. And then time's up and they're like, well, I'm just going to become a real estate agent, and they're pretty face. And I think they think it's so easy, and there probably were people that thought that that's what I was going to do, like just do a deal here and there and, see where it goes. Where that's not, like, I have my master's, in communication. My undergrad is in philosophy. So like, I'm not some dum-dum that was just making money and then all of a sudden stopped and wanted to make money and got into real estate, which is unfortunately what's happening here. It's like an oversaturated market with beautiful faces and nothing between the ears.
Yeah. Vegas is a very interesting place. It's a very unique place, like you said, because there are people in Las Vegas that make an incredible amount of money doing all sorts of different jobs and different things out there. And like you said, when the time's up and transitioning, so if there's listeners out there that have people doubting them, right, that are saying, because we hear it a lot. We hear it a lot from people whose parents, they're like, I became an agent and all these people are telling me I'm not going to be able to make it. Right.
There's so many. So many.
It's so common. So what would you tell them? Like so the people that are looking for, because you've done it, right? So you had haters, you had people saying you wouldn't be able to do this, or
not to my face. They're not that dumb.
Yeah. I could tell they wouldn't want to confront you like the asshole agent out there. But what advice would you give people that have haters and they're trying to figure out if they should push forward or not?
Just keep doing you, really. You know what I mean? Just keep doing you, keep posting on social media, keep talking about what you're doing, just put it out there that you're an agent, like people are like, oh, I don't have listings, I don't have buyers. Just go to model homes and do tours and talk about that and just talk about the real estate market. If you talk about the real estate market, no one's going to know that you don't have a listing or you don't have a buyer at the moment. You just give them information. And fake it till you make it, man. That's what I had to do. Even in like all my reality TV stuff, I had to fake it till I make it.
I think that's amazing advice. I love the fake it to the make it mindset, because there's, a gal that I interviewed a few weeks ago. She talked about like every time somebody would sell a house in her office, she would go out with the just sold sign. right? And she'd hold up the just sold sign and it wasn't her listing. And it was just like, but she's like, hey, it was a house behind me. It was getting sold. I was there. She would offer to go, deliver the keys for other people in their office for houses that they sold. Like, so then she could always get those opportunities. And the more she kept doing it, the better. And she got to continue growing it that way. So I totally believe in that. You mentioned quick that like, so your first year, you met some people, you talked to some people that you knew, they liked you. They said, sure, give it a shot. You were able to convert that to more. Your second year, you decided you want to maybe buy some leads and from Zillow. And you said that actually didn't work at all. So what was that process like?
I think we started off with I think it was like 3,400 a month. And then it went to like almost 5,000 a month. And it was like 8 leads. And I don't know what I was thinking, because that's ridiculous amount of money to pay for leads for Zillow now, reflecting on it. And, the leads were just not good. You'd get people who wanted to rent, which they say they don't count, whatever. Then you'd get these nurture leads, which is all BS. Then you'd get people who already were working with an agent. Then you'd get, someone who hasn't been pre-approved yet, but or they don't want to send their proof of funds or pre-approval, but they want to see that $1 million house. What else? You just didn't get like good quality for what you were paying. You would expect that you'd have someone who was like serious, because they do have to go through like the Zillow person on the phone, and they have to ask them questions, and then they get transferred to you. So it's kind of like, okay, what's the vetting process here? Because we're paying all this money. And then Flex came on. And so I think we paid till like last year, like beginning of last year. Yeah. And Flex came on. And I mean, that was because somebody in our office had it. So we knew how they were doing it. They were just giving the good leads to the Flex, obviously, because they get 30%. And then we were just getting the crappy filtered out stuff.
Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Muchastegui with a quick commercial break with one of our newest sponsors. I'm super excited to be partnering with these guys. Does 15 to 20% ROI investing in turnkey rentals sound attractive? Did you know you can use the BRRRR strategy with new construction that has immediate equity already? You guys have heard me talk about stuff like this. Rent to Retirement offers fully turnkey properties that are newly built or renovated, leased and managed, allowing you to invest with confidence out of state. They have single family, multifamily, new build, and syndication opportunities across multiple markets that maximize cash flow, appreciation, and equity. Rent to Retirement assists investors in learning how to build a comprehensive business plan with the best investment and tax strategies to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. There's no excuse not to get started in real estate investing when you have the right team and systems in place. To learn more, visit renttoretirement.com. That's renttoretirement.com, or call 1-800-311-6781. That's 800-311-6781 to learn about how you can get started investing in some of the best cash flow markets today. And if you guys want to learn more about Zach, episode 1025, we dig in for a good 45-minute interview where he tells you the secrets to investing in real estate out of state. And him and I shared a lot of ideas about what works and what doesn't. You'll get to hear a lot about his company and his business. If you're an agent from out of state and you've got referrals looking for stuff, they work with other agents on a referral basis. And we've talked so much since COVID hit that everybody needs to have a backup plan, right? Every one of you agents needs to have a backup plan. You should all be investing in real estate. And if you're having trouble finding the time and the team to do it, maybe something like Rent to Retirement is the solution for you. So thank you for listening. Go check them out. Now back to the rest of our podcast. That's an important thing to think about. Yeah, when they've got different levels, you have to think of what's in it for the lead source, right? The people that are selling you the lead source, and especially in that case, if they've got one where they can make more money, then of course you're getting the ones that aren't as good. The people that
it's common sense, right? It's logic.
Yeah, follow the money.
And you tell them that, and they're like, "No, we don't do that." No, I'm like, stop with the bullshit. Okay, you're not going to give me 8 leads, right, for $5,000, whatever, how much, and then give me the best ones when you can give it to somebody that you can get 30%. Like, and people fall for it. And hey, if you do, that's good for you. There are people that convert really well with those leads, but and a lot of people actually just don't see the money, what it's coming from, what it's worth.
Yeah. So. Have you found any success buying leads from anyone?
Realtor.com is okay. But it's not as expensive and you get more leads. So I don't get as upset because it's way cheaper if like a lead doesn't work out, but I would say I convert those pretty well.
And realtor.com is they do flat rates because they also do both. They also do a commission share one, but do they do flat rates?
City, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Op City, at least for Vegas, it's like horrible. Like you get like an investor for $50,000. Like for what? Is this like a down payment? Like what's this going on? So, but I don't do Op City. I do like the non-shared leads, and it's cheaper. It's less than $1,000 a month. And the conversion is way better than Zillow.
Yeah. If you convert, you spend $1,000 on leads and you convert one every 6 months, you're in a market like Vegas. You know how great they're sending you leads of people that are like, I've got $50,000 to spend on an investment property. You're like
on Op City. Yeah. It was, and I just got off Op City because it was constant, and it was not even that. It was like in Death Valley or like Searchlight. It was like in weird, like very far places that you would not want to go alone and meet up with someone.
Yeah.
So,
how many deals are you gonna try to do this year?
I have in the pipeline right now. I'm at 12 million, which is great, and not even in the pipeline. Like about to like go in escrow. We went in escrow yesterday, and we have another one going in escrow tomorrow. Probably this week. I'm sorry. So I'm hoping to get to 20. And that'll be my biggest year. I'm just, I'm trying to like every year trying to do better. Last year wasn't as good because I had my daughter and COVID, but it's good now because I do have people who refer me. Like this time of year is busy too, because, the sports teams, and I do reach out to them, specifically the Raiders. And they're coming out now, the ones who got their new contracts, and they're wanting to buy homes before the season starts and all that. So this is like a busy time for me, at least.
Yeah. That's cool to try to think of how to do the outreach on those. Like you're targeting the bigger houses that are your niche and trying to be of service. Last year during COVID, did you feel like people were moving out of Vegas more than they were moving into Vegas? Was there a lot of, any shifts that you saw during that time, or did you take it easy because you were having your baby?
No, people were coming into Vegas for sure. And it was just hard because like the first 7 months, I didn't have a nanny. It was just me and the baby. And then my husband works a lot. So it was hard for me to have an open schedule and go out, to meet up with buyers or meet up with sellers. And, I did also want to like cherish those first 6 months to a year, but after like 7 months, I was like, we need a nanny because I'm going crazy in this house. Like I need to get out. I need to interact with people that are like over the age of 18 years old, like I need to like get out. And I was on Clubhouse a lot too, which helped, but because I was home, but so last year, like I said, it wasn't it was probably like worst year, but this year is projected to be the best, probably double.
Do you know what your volume was your first year when you did like the 25 deal, like average price point back then was that like a $10 million year? With like you said, based on price of $400,000 or something? I am the worst. Okay. When I'm telling you, like, I am the worst when it comes to this stuff. Like I'm not, there's agents where it's like, I did 2,800 million bajillion, in sales this year. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just like last year, I like looked it up. I think last year I only did like 7 million. And then I didn't even look up like the year before that. I don't know. Those things don't matter to me. I feel like to me, it's more like at the end, how much money I made. If that makes sense, so I probably should look at that. I know I should, but it's not one of those things like people who say like they've been in the business for like 20 years. Oh, I've been an agent for 20 years. It's like, I don't even know how long I've been in the business. Like right.
3
You're like, I've been in 3 kind of, but there was,
I know, I'm sorry. Does that make me a shitty agent? I'm sorry. I don't know.
You're like that. So you can't really keep, but you'll do 20 million this year. And then you found, the knock on wood and hope and all that stuff. You're like, your numbers are off to the right track where you should beat that really. Like, I think that's probably low hanging fruit for you to keep going with the transition you're making. Do you feel like you've made a conscious effort to do business different this year when it was like, hey, this, like when you said like, hey, I want to grow, did you make any mindset shifts? Did you do something different? Or is it just, hey, you're just back to the races?
Definitely a mindset shift. starting the new year, I was like, okay, this is going to be my year. I want this to be my best year. I mean, I was way more aggressive in farming my neighborhood. My neighborhood is a couple million. So I would farm them continuously for, every 2 weeks. And then like I did a coffee truck like at the beginning of the year, which was great. So there's an idea for you guys. It's super cheap. Do a coffee truck for 2 hours, send out mailers, and people came and I got 2 leads from that, so.
In your $2 million neighborhood. So talk about that for a second. So you sent out like letters, door hangers, or knocked on doors and said, hey, we're going to have a coffee truck out in the neighborhood.
I'm not knocking on anyone's door. I'm sorry. Like it's not happening. I'm not doing it. I'll send out a mailer. And then, I am the HOA president too. So we have like a group, like a Facebook group, and I posted like the flyer in there, but I'm not going to take advantage and like text people or, cause it's unwanted. Like I would not like take someone's personal information because of my position and use it as an opportunity. I would do it like everybody else, but I did post it in our group that we have for the neighborhood. And I sent out mailers, and whoever I saw on our walks, cause we walk with my daughter and our dog, and I just let them know.
Yeah.
And then whoever saw it when they came in the neighborhood, because it was right there.
Yeah. It's very simple, very smart, right? Like, hey, and if you're kind of marketing as you're seeing people, hey, go out there. So you're the face that's recognized. I live in a neighborhood that's like that. And there's a couple people that get all the listings in this neighborhood, and because they live here, and we get letters from them, we get cards from them kind of every month saying what's sold in the neighborhood. And when they're out, they do so much outreach. Now, my neighbor is, the owner passed away. And so the kids are selling the property, and they were doing like an off-market open house. And I walked over there, and it was the agent that gets all the listings. And I said, hey, how did you get this? Right? Like, how did you get this one? Especially they're having you do it off market. And they were just like, no, everybody knows in this neighborhood, it's us. Right. And there's 180 houses inside this little spot of the HOA or inside the gate or something. And that is big enough for them just to heavily invest. So I think there is lots of different ideas like that as people get to focus in their areas and be recognized. But I like the coffee truck idea. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's really good. And there's 2 agents that didn't even live here that were getting the listings last year. Like I said, when I was kind of down, and I would get like their pamphlets, and I'm like, these motherfuckers, and I would like rip them up. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is not fair. There's only 78 of us in this neighborhood, and my husband and I are the youngest couple here. So I think that they thought like, oh, she's young, we're not going to use her, like, I don't know. But then the more I developed relationships, I think they're like, oh, okay. All right. And they reached out to me, and it's definitely like better now in the sense of like where last year I was always home because the baby, and then COVID and everybody was freaking out. But now that I've like developed better relationships with the neighbors and people around, I think now they're like, oh, okay, she's like the real deal. She's not just, some pretty girl that's just trying to get a listing here and there.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about real estate?
Well, obviously the commissions are always great, but telling the buyer that they got their offer accepted, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Like we were going back and forth with this guy, and finally we got it all signed off last night. And my client has been literally messaging me like every hour for the past like 4 days. And, texting me pictures of a bottle of wine, like showing me pictures. I'm sad, like help, like when are we gonna do this? And I'm like, I'm trying my best. Like I'm a very aggressive buyer's agent. Like when I first started, this woman called me Viper, and it just stuck. So now everybody calls me Viper because I'm very aggressive. And I called her last night. It was like 8:30, and I was sitting with my husband. I'm like, I'm just gonna fuck with her and tell her that we didn't get it. And so I call her, and I'm like, hey, girl, I'm sorry. He said like, no. And she's like, oh. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, just chugging the rest of this bottle of wine from the bottle. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. We got it. She was like, yes. And I was really hoping for like more of like a crazy reaction. She's like, I am so mentally drained from the past 4 days. Like, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you what you wanted. I'm like, well, all right.
Yeah. They're like I think that answer, it's an emotional experience, right? We talked about at the very beginning, how emotional real estate is, and where it's like people's biggest decision. And I think the answer changes through time. Like right now, the toughest thing about the market is if you're a buyer's agent getting your offer accepted, because every house gets so many offers. And, and being a Viper agent, right? Like being an agent that is working hard and trying to get their offer accepted for their buyers. That is a game changer in today's market. That little like crappy flat rate listing flip that we put on the market, right? We get 15 offers or something right away. And we're just going like, okay, so who wants it the most? Right? It was pretty much like all the prices are different, but we're like, who really wants it the most? Who's going to close this thing on time? Who's going to convince us that they're the right buyer? Because I mean, honestly, the top 5 offers are all they're like financially the same. So you're like, how do I make the difference or not? And we're like reaching out to agents to try to get them to like tell us or convince us. And they're just like, yeah. And some of them just kind of weren't responding. And you're like, that is so silly. It's such a bad service to, and then they're going to lose that one and go on to the next one. And their buyers start to get discouraged when it was really like, we had not made up our mind. Any of those top 5 agents could have gotten it. And so much of the time it is the one that's like calling and saying, here's why it should be us. You know, we want it really bad. We're the ones that are going to make sure that we close and take this. Because the only bad part about being a seller in this market is you get so many offers, you're worried about accepting the wrong one. Like you don't want to accept the one that actually doesn't close.
That backs out.
Yeah, that they back out at the last minute and you lose all your momentum. That's the worst. So it's funny. It's great to get so many offers, but then when there are that many that are the same, it was driving me crazy. Like, how do we know which one it's going to be the best one? We need somebody to convince us.
And it's relationships too. It's, relationships with the agent, so like I've gotten offers accepted because I had a relationship with the selling agent, the listing agent, because they know you're going to get it done. They know that you're good to go. Whereas, I had a listing that we had multiple offers within 24 hours. The guy literally called me and he's like, I'm new. Like, can you help me out? And I was like, okay, what's up? I had to help him write an offer line by line. Do you know how much of a nightmare that would have been for the transaction? Thank God, like other offers came in that were higher and obviously better. Yeah. But I thought, oh my God, if my clients like accept this guy's offer, this is going to be
a nightmare. You're going to do all the work. Yeah. You're going to be doing both sides of the transaction the whole time.
But you don't want to stress out your seller and tell them that, you just want to like get them through it all,
Right. So. You want to be able to present it to be like, but honestly, I don't know if these people will be able to close because the agent doesn't know what he's doing yet. Yeah. They're still getting started. Any last advice you'd want to give agents out there? Or we have listeners on here that have been agents for years that are trying to get into higher levels of, they're trying to go from $400,000 deals to $1 million deals. We have people that are listening that haven't got their real estate license yet. We get so many people that are like studying and they're thinking, should I become an agent or not? Any last advice you give to anybody in the spectrum of people thinking about getting their license or trying to get to the next level? What would you say is a secret to success?
Well, I wanted to give an advice on leads first.
Yeah.
Something that worked for me. And obviously this year's a little different, but so if you go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, probably Facebook is your best bet. And you see all the time about like how the rent's gone up and housing prices have gone up and everything. I got I would say 6 leads and they all converted from, you just read the comments and you're going to see people saying, oh my God, like I can't afford that. My rent's gone up, or I don't know what to do. My rent's going up. You literally just write them, hey, can you please check your DM? And you introduce yourself, tell them that you're an agent, say, how much are you paying on rent? Do you know that you can pay X amount if you own a home that'll be in your name if you pay this much? I'm going to connect you with my lender, my husband, and let's discuss more details. Let's see if you can get approved and we can go from there. And 99.9% of the time, they're going to respond and say, oh my God, yes, let's do it. Yeah. That's like the easiest free way to get a lead.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And it's so simple right now because rents are going up. Yeah. We have some of our renters rents going up like 30% year over year right now in houses of ours. And I can't believe that some of them want to renew and keep going. And, but you're right. You can reply back, somebody go in my rent about this. And you get to say like, hey, do you want to lock in your rent forever? Essentially, like, how much are you paying? Because what if you bought your own house and your rate never goes up after that? Your payment stays the same as long as you own it and you're getting all the extra stuff. What an easy lead to convert, because especially as rent gets higher and higher, that price point is huge, right? On some of these houses that are, it's houses that are $200,000, $300,000 neighborhoods, but rent's getting increased to $2,300, $2,500 a month. They could buy a $400,000 house. They could buy a $500,000 house. It changes.
Or a condo or a townhome, but it's theirs,
Yeah.
And another thing is if you go on Twitter and I would put in moving to Las Vegas. So if you're like moving to Dallas or whatever, and you just put those keywords and you'll see people, oh, I can't wait to move, or I'm going to move. And then you just respond to them, say, hey, I'm going to message you, introduce yourself, and go from there and see like, oh, you're looking to buy or rent, that kind of thing. That's another way to get some easy leads.
Yeah,
if somebody wants to pay,
Yeah, that's good old fashioned free leads. Like, especially if you guys are early agents out there or low budget agents are trying to add something new and just trying to get a few extra deals this year, listening to the comments, then you also send them a personal DM first. And then you tell them in the comments, like, hey, go check your DMs. I just sent you a message, because otherwise it blows past with all of the other ones out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easy leads and free.
I love that. Anything else?
Like we discussed earlier, you never know who's going to be on the other side of a transaction. One day this will become a buyer's market again, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So all those listing agents that were assholes, they will be on the other end, so just be nice and courteous to your fellow realtors, your fellow agents. You're all working together for one goal, and that's to sell a home or get your clients in a home. So like, just be nice and let's work together and not against each other.
It's so true. Cami, this was awesome. You helped our listeners figure out some simple lead systems out there. We had some good stories about how you were able to grow your business, even though you had some doubters and you had some haters in that unique market out there. And this year, I'm confident you're going to hit that 20 million. I can't wait to have you back on. And when you're waiting to do 30 or 40 the following year, if people want to come find out more about what you're doing, or if they want to send leads your way as they're moving over to Las Vegas, they're trying to add that extra condo, what's the best place people can go find you, follow you, reach out?
I'm on all platforms, but if Instagram, probably it's Cami, CAMI _LI.
Cool. CAMI _LI. Cami Lincowski, agent out in Las Vegas, Nevada. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on the Real Estate Rockstars today. All right, Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks for listening. All right, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate, how to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in two different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronmuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.